When you think of a Muslim person, what comes to mind? A woman wearing a hijab, a man with a long beard. These are common images associated with Islam, but there's a lot more diversity in the religion that a lot of people assume. Hi, my name is Martin, and I'm a talent advocate at Power to Fly. As a Latino living in Europe, people do not often think that I'm a Muslim. However, I've been one for 6 years. I'm what could be considered a Muslim convert. It is often thought that Muslims are from Arab or African background. The reality is that the Muslim community is a lot more diverse. Of all Muslims living in the US territory, only 14% are from Middle East or North African countries. The rest were actually born in the US territory, Asia, and other parts of the world. Because of this, you might think that there aren't many Muslims in your organization, but just because someone hasn't talked about their religion, their culture, their background, wears a hijab, or has a long beard, doesn't mean they are not present in your organization. So that's why we're here for. Talk a little bit more about Islam, but in specific, a very important event that's coming soon, and that is Ramadan. What it is, why it's important, and how can you foster inclusivity with some best practices. So what is Ramadan? Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. These pillars are mandatory practices for all Muslims, with some exceptions made due to health and age. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. It is a holy month because this is when the first verses of the Quran were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. What's most important from a practical point of view is that we fast and we refrain also from other activities from sunrise to dawn. The exact dates for Ramadan vary each year, as is it a lunar calendar and not Gregorian. That being said, Ramadan usually occurs at least partially in March. All Muslims are encouraged to avoid engaging in intimate practices with their partners, smoking, or drinking. Apart from that, we are also required to wake up very early in the morning to have sohor, which is a short meal that we have before sunrise, and also may have to stay up later than usual to have dinner after dawn. Fasting has been a common practice throughout history in many societies. We Muslims do it as a way to worship and connect with Allah. It is also a moment of joy that we spend with family, relatives, and friends. On the other hand, fasting can be tough, especially the first few days until the body gets used to it. Exceptions to fasting are made for older people, those who may be pregnant or menstruating, and those who may have a health condition that makes fasting a dangerous practice for them. Instead, they can work to take care of the community and feed a poor person for each day that they are unable to fast. Now I'll talk a little bit about my experience with Ramadan and how it affects my day-to-day at work. Please keep in mind that this is a personal experience and it may be different from other Muslims you know. Ramadan is a moment where I reflect to replace habits that Allah dislikes with ones He likes more. This could have a different meaning for everyone. Some people may struggle with their daily prayers and this could be an opportunity for them to get back on track. Some people may want to spend more time with family, friends, and relatives as day-to-day responsibilities may have interfered with that, and others may want to take the opportunity to take better care of their health and spiritual well-being. Ramadan is a moment of worship, self-development, and self-awareness. Empathy and taking care of the community are also vital values during this month. Now let's go through some best practices that will better help you foster inclusivity, diversity, and equity for Muslims in the workplace. Like I said before, Ramadan is a moment where we reflect to replace habits that Allah dislikes with ones that He loves more. This can go from big things to small things. For example, decreasing profanity in our speech or avoiding certain topics like drugs, alcohol, or sexual activity. Keeping office talk appropriate can help Muslims and other people not feel out of place. Avoiding food center celebrations during the month of Ramadan helps to support Muslims during fasting. It also avoids creating situations where someone may be asked why they're not eating. Avoiding these kind of celebrations or having eating as a cornerstone of office gatherings can help the office make a more comfortable environment for a lot of people. Some examples, aside from those who may be fasting, include someone who has a history of disordered eating, those with allergies or dietary restrictions, and many more. Fasting may cause practicing Muslims to have lower energy levels during Ramadan. Someone may be less bubbly or outgoing, or possibly need schedule adjustments to help them work at the best times. That doesn't mean someone is less committed or dedicated to their job or workplace. In fact, I've been in a situation where I fell asleep at work because of this. I was so embarrassed. A coworker that saw me didn't know I was fasting. This could lead to them thinking that I was not committed or even facing disciplinary action. Practicing Muslims pray 5 times a day. Each prayer lasts between 5 to 10 minutes and must be performed in a specific time frame. For example, the door prayer where I live starts at 1:32 p.m. and the next at 4:15, meaning that being in meetings from 1 to 4:30 could result in me missing the door prayer. That is generally fine, as there is room for flexibility. That said, many Muslims pray at their mosque during Ramadan. This could result in needing to shift around meetings or other changes in people's schedules. In an on-site working environment, offering designated prayer spaces can be very convenient. I'm sure most Muslims would be very happy and thankful for that. Additionally, employers can provide education about religious and cultural practices to help improve their employees' understanding of these DEI practices. This helps prevent people from specific groups from having to educate others at work. In this video, we've talked about what Ramadan is, why it's important, and how it can affect someone at work. We've also gone through some inclusive practices not only useful for peers, but for leaders and employers. Make sure to check out the links below for additional information and resources. I hope this video has helped you understand the practice of Ramadan better. Thanks for watching.